Hey everybody, my name is Troy. Welcome to Applying Principles. Today I really wanted to talk about trauma and my experience doing a 30-day meditation challenge. I have done meditation before, so this isn't my first time doing it, but I've kind of gone through some traumatic experiences in my life, which kind of has made me stop meditating for several years. And even before that, I was never in a steady habit of doing meditation. It was, I do it once in a while here and there, or I do it as I'm preparing for a spiritual exercise or something like that. But for the most part, I could never really get in the habit of it. With this time getting laid off with COVID, I've been sitting at home, with a lot of time to think about my thoughts, and I've really had a chance to kind of delve into how I feel about things. After kind of just sitting around for a while, feeling that freeze state, because you have fight, flight, freeze, and fawn as your four typical responses to traumatic events. How I usually have learned to respond to that is sitting in a freeze state as I'm having flight ruminations. So I'm basically sitting there kind of feeling awkward as my mind is racing about different things, and it's usually I'm trying to think my way out of something. It's more or less I'm trying to use my brain to figure out where the danger is and how to avoid it and how to get around it. When I go down and I sit to meditate, it would be that same thing where everything would pop into my brain of, you got to do this, you got to do that, you have this to do, and then all the other voices start to come in, like you have the shameful voices, you have the judgment voices, different goals and aspirations that you want coming up at the same time, but they're coming in with the tone of judgment. You haven't achieved your goals yet, And so it's trying to not let those feelings overwhelm you. And part of the mentality I find to be a prerequisite before having a good grounded spiritual meditation is to not have these lofty goals, not trying to think that I'm not going to think any thoughts at all. Because that's just not how it works. We're always thinking thoughts. Even when we're asleep, our brain is still functioning and doing stuff all night long. Maybe not thinking in the same way that we think we're thinking. So I kind of realized that meditation was one of the only solutions I had left, especially as I was sitting at home with not much to do and I couldn't reconnect and I couldn't do these other forms of healing. Like relationship healing. I couldn't do those and connect with people. So I had to really connect with myself. And that's really what the meditation is good for. Because it's more or less you have your mind, your body, and your emotions. And they're all feeling and doing their own different things. And they have their own ways in which they achieve things and understand things and approach the world. And we are a mixture of all of those things. So much of where we feel those traumatic states is where we're not aligning those three attributes of ourselves. If a traumatic experience comes up that we cannot cognitively wrap our minds around, that can cause trauma, as well as you can have emotional trauma. When you can't emotionally conceive of what happens, you can have trauma there. And same thing physically. You can have physical trauma, and the lack and limitations of that physical attributes can also cause trauma and disconnect you from your understanding with the world and who you are. And so a lot of meditation is just trying to be yourself and figure out how to be yourself better. So I find that so much of meditation and who we are in general is not about suppressing thoughts. It's about allowing a space for the different attributes of ourselves that we don't pay attention to on a regular basis and we haven't necessarily been listening to. Meditation is one of those times where we can feel and allow those voices to have a place to be heard. So when we're not used to feeling emotions or processing certain things, that is a place where we can allow ourselves to hear ourselves and our different needs. So I meditated a couple times before I started this challenge, and they weren't having the effect. I basically sat down and I didn't feel better when I got up. I might as well have just sat outside and looked at the trees or whatever. And relaxing is great because that is a fundamental part. So in meditation, I found that it's not about suppressing your thoughts, because your thoughts are active and they're engaging with who you are and they're trying to articulate the different parts of yourself. But there's so many things we are thinking that we have the conscious part of our mind that we have more control over, whatever control that is. We can take that and we can apply it and turn off the thoughts that we do have control over, or at least slow down enough to, let those things kind of run their course and slow down. It's about allowing the momentum of your emotions and your thoughts to slow down. So you're kind of giving them the space, the room to kind of run out their energy. And then by the time that they've run out, you've kind of allowed those things to articulate themselves. You have heard yourself and you understand where you're coming from, or at least you're in the process of starting to understand yourself. And then you can move beyond these things with the simple fact of just hearing yourself. Because as soon as you hear yourself and you start to work up the journey of healing, then you start to feel different. And that's really what meditation is your body is constantly trying to heal itself, your emotions and your mind. There's wisdom embedded in the innate being of who we are in these different attributes, because they want to constantly move towards health. And when you're recognizing these responses, might just be out of context, but you're still making emotional tries to actually be better than who we were before. So I've realized meditation is more or less giving yourself the space and time to actually feel what you're trying to feel, because your body and your emotions are literally trying to tell you something. And whether or not it's important, they still want to tell you that. And the more that you can honor those parts of yourself to listen to those and respect what they have to say, the more that you're holding respect for yourself. Because respecting even the traumatized parts of yourself that don't make any sense, respect those, because those are the parts of yourself that have started to figure out a new understanding of a greater reality. So the more that you can allow your body and your mind to give space for those thoughts to process and evolve, they'll get you to a place that you weren't before. You'll think about things clearer than you would before. So it's about centering yourself and recognizing that, you don't get there every time. Sometimes you meditate and you don't really do anything. And sometimes you just get to sit down for a couple minutes where nothing else happens. And relaxing is very important. So I found that for myself through most of this, that a lot of my insecurities, I think, come from a lack of nutrients, so to speak. That, a lack of understanding, a lack of love, a lack of respect. And these can come from the outside, but they can also come from the inside. So you can supplement things from the outside that you don't get on the inside, and vice versa. And I think that that's really important, that we need to learn more self-love, and we need to learn more self-compassion, more self-understanding, more self-respect. Because the more that we identify and align with those true attributes of ourselves and the, interacting with our shadow and recognizing what our trauma is. Our trauma is trying to move past who we were into a better reality, but we have to go through this figuring out process because, that trauma was something that was from outside of us. So we need to figure out more. And it's, and in a spiritual sense, it's one thing that causes us to become more, and that's really what this whole process has taught me, personally speaking, because I know not everybody's on the same journey with their healing. But for me, this has been recognizing how much of the traumatic part of myself had a wisdom that what was going on was not okay, and it was trying to let me know for years. So more trusting that traumatized part of myself, that it innately knew that I needed something better. It innately knew that rage and frustration and crying and, heartbreak and all that stuff was trying to show me that there is a better reality than what I'm experiencing now. And that part of me knew that. And the more that I can recognize that, the more that it helps put me in a better place. One thing I would do as I sat myself down, especially as I started, I'd be like, all right, I don't have to do anything. I'm sitting here to relax. And because I've given myself a moment to relax, I've kind of achieved meditation. By giving myself the moment to relax, I've kind of achieved the goal that I wanted to by giving myself time to relax. And I'm not trying to achieve anything in the meditation. I'm allowing myself the space to meditate. And then I'm allowing my body and the natural forces of who we are naturally in our own predisposition to goodwill and our own, just innate desire to do good in the world. And that comes really, from a spiritual perspective and source, and also my faith in humanity. What would really propel me into that next stage of relaxation, where it's like, I've already achieved everything I need to do in this meditative state. I have allowed myself to feel more relaxed and to feel more calm. And by allowing myself to do that, that's all I can do. I don't have complete control over my body and my emotions because they have momentum, And so I need to allow that momentum to kind of work its way out. So meditation isn't necessarily about achieving anything, but it's more or less giving myself that ability, that time and space to let the wisdom of the different parts of myself run their course and kind of come back to center, allow the momentum to subside, to get back to an equilibrium, and then from there move to a state of positivity. Because it's also with polyvagal theory is, you want to be engaged in your ventral vagal system, which is essentially more or less your flow state, your digestive state, when you're like emotionally connected with somebody. That is really when that part of your vagal systems turn on. But the vagal system also moves you into your fight and flight response, and it also moves you into that freeze and, shutdown response as well. This allows really for your polyvagal system to really reach its equilibrium and to do its job, because it's always trying to assess threats of danger and then move you back into a sense of security. And meditation is all about trying to help that whole cycle reset so you can move back into that ventral vagal system, and feel at peace, feel it flow, feel yourself again. And this is a process because it's never 100%. You don't just sit down, turn off your thoughts, and bam, it's all gone. That's just not how it works. So it's more about like sitting there and allowing your thoughts to come through you and listen to the thoughts that you haven't been allowing the time for before. Because, you've been listening to your thoughts that have been, loud for a long time. But there's a lot of other ones under there that have been trying to make their way and trying to help you and trying to make you see certain things in the world. And that's really important. So the more that we can understand and trust ourselves, I think that's really where our wisdom comes in. Meditation is a journey. It's not a destination. You're not going to get somewhere by meditating because you're literally just sitting there. The whole point is letting the parts of yourself come to fruition. Let the parts of yourself that aren't yourself run their course, and trust in yourself and trust that you have some wisdom in there. And, we all have stuff to figure out. And, there are parts of ourselves that we do want to improve and change, but trust that they will change, and trust in the fact that when you articulate something and when you actually feel something more coming on, give it a space, allow that to come out, and encourage yourself that's okay. And even if it's a really bad, hurtful, traumatic experience, allow that to come out, in a moderate, respectful way, to yourself, but don't just dig up old wounds, but, you'll you'll feel a sense of wisdom, and you'll feel a sense of what is achievable and what's not the more that you try to do this. And just start off with like simple 5-minute guided meditations, or just learn to sit still for a couple minutes. Just start there, you know. It can do wonders just by learning different ways to relax, and then learning how to relax, and then moving into a place where you can just sit with yourself and listen to yourself and your feelings, and then try to hear where you can supplement, you know, and try to improve your self-talk and such like that. So I'm going to go roll through some of the video diaries I did throughout the course of my challenge, and I really wanted to kind of show a little bit of the journey, because the first 7 days, you know, the first few days felt like I wasn't doing anything, but after 7 days of doing it in a row, I could really feel it start to change. And I really liked the habit of doing it every day, because it forced it to fit into my schedule differently. Because sometimes I do it first thing when I got up, because I had a full day and I wanted to make sure it got done. There's other times where I'd literally be going to bed and I'd be like falling asleep, but I sit up on the edge of my bed and I meditated for 5 minutes just to say I could before I went to bed. And then there'd be other times where I'd do it right in the middle of the day, and it'd be a long experience. So it's not the same every time. And so it's about connecting with yourself and not having these high goals, and realize that each meditation is different. You're not just going to sit there, turn off your mind, and, ooh, I feel at one with the universe. Because you're out of whack a little bit different each time. Sometimes your body needs to calm down. Sometimes your emotions needs to calm down. Sometimes your head's racing and it needs to slow down. Sometimes it's a combination of the two, or one is underperforming. But it's recognizing that you have 3 different areas, primarily speaking, and you're trying to harmonize them. And when you can harmonize them, that's really where your power is. And that's really where we become our authentic selves. 30 days of meditation. Let's see how this goes. Hard to find a little bit of a good camera angle, but, you know, whatever. Alright, that was about 15 minutes, and feel a little bit better, but not that much better. Took a couple layers of thoughts off, but I'm still kind of in the same headspace. But I guess it's all moving a little bit slower. See how much more momentum carries on through other days. So day 2, I'm reminded that meditation's not about clearing your head of thoughts, but not focusing on your thoughts. And it's much more about finding that point that is the center between your thoughts and your emotions and your physical feelings, and trying to find that connection point. Because you are the connection point rather than those different attributes of yourself. It's about feeling better, little bit by little bit. And I do feel a little bit better after doing that. My head was kind of racing. Or not racing, but my thoughts were active, but they weren't thinking me. They were just kind of flowing through me rather than taking control of me. Oh. I'm feeling more centered. I'm feeling more grounded. I had an itch and my legs started to fall asleep, so I had to switch positions, but I feel better. A little fidgety. I just keep reminding myself to relax and let it all go. Let all the weird nervous energy and impulses go. The important ones are still there. Let the erratic ones fade away. Let's do it. It's okay. I felt like my body is starting to detox and drop some stuff into my veins, and it hurts. So I gotta get some water and move around a little bit, because my body's a little bit weird. But I guess my head is stopped spinning a little bit more than it usually is, so... or than it was before, so I'll take it. Felt like it was a little bit on and off. My back was kind of sputtery, and I was going back and forth. I don't know. I guess I feel better now than I did before. Little twitchy too. Got some twitches. Some twitches. Day 7. Meditation. Yeah. Well, that was pretty long, actually. My thoughts were actually very active this time, and I spent most of the time processing emotions. I kind of realized that parts of me really love myself and understand myself and believe good things about myself, and then there's other parts of myself which do not believe good things about myself. Those have been in conflict, and so when something comes up, they clash against each other, and then there's kind of this push in the middle, and then nothing happens, and then but there's a whole bunch pushing this way and a whole bunch pushing that way, and I just need to letting go of some of that stuff and realizing that those things don't serve me. Finding a way to act out of joy and desire and good feeling emotions rather than letting my negative beliefs fuel my action. I wouldn't say I was thinking through, I was feeling out what my beliefs are, and I was letting my emotions guide my thoughts rather than the other way around, recognizing that I need to spend more of my time in good feeling thoughts, good feeling actions, and desire is very helpful. The more that I can feel my desire and feel what I actually want in life and feel that innate connection, that's really where I need to be. Realize that there's things I don't want to do in life, that there's going to be hardships in life, and there's going to be pain, but really connecting with the good parts and where I want to be in the desire, not getting caught up in trying to overanalyze all the pitfalls and all the things that could go wrong. Connect with that doing part of myself and connect that with the desire part of myself is really what I want. I want to act more out of desire because that desire is coming from who I am. And that's obviously different from petty desires, but whatever. I don't know, I'm constantly brought back to my principles and what I find important in life and what I desire. And I really want everything to work out for everybody. I want equality and happiness and success, and trying to find my place in it and trying to remind myself that, you know, those burning desires help motivate me, and trying to feel and be who I want to be is exactly what this is all about. I don't know, I just feel like I wake up in the morning and I think I just expect so much of the worst to happen that I'm waiting for all this external stuff to happen to me instead of trying to make reality happen. Hey, thanks for watching. If you liked it, please like and subscribe. I got some more content coming on the way, and you have a great day. Thanks.